did it all the way through. And the Word of God, just by his reading it, was so powerful that the congregation was weeping and screaming and holding on to the pews, and they could feel like they were sinking into hell, because the Word of God is powerful, whether you preach it with a loud voice or just read it. But I think you'll understand once I get into it. Frank Luntz, former football coach in Notre Dame, in one of his speeches brought out there are four principles of life that we as humans must adhere to. Number one, we must have something to do. All of us Christians, all of us on earth, we have to have something to do. I moved here from Houston, Texas, but in 2020 I was working at Kroger's. Martha, my second wife, was ill, and so I was working in the meat department at Kroger's, and I had worked there from 2016 until 2020, till she died. And one day, the early part of 2020, my boss came in and said, "Norman, you are non-essential. If you have ever been told that you're non-essential, that'll knock the stuffings out of you." But the timing was right, and so Martha needed me, and for the next year, then before she died, I was able to take care of her. So we must have something to do. The Philippian jailer asked Paul and Silas, "What wilt thou have me to do?" Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. Second, we must have someone to love. Well, I love Jesus and I love Vera. I love my little dog. I say I love hamburgers, but they don't compare to this. But those are the two that I love. So we must have someone to love. Thirdly, we must have something to believe in. 20 years. Vonda made millions in the insurance business, had 3 children, and she was a single parent at that time, a divorced parent. She had 3 children, and for the next 20 years, Vera raised those 3 children and worked for Vonda White. And Vonda White was a multimillionaire, still is, and bought Pillsbury Baptist College and turned it into an international, I don't know what you'd call it, boarding school, and they teach and they train, and had the buildings remodeled, and so it's an edifice, beautiful place. I've never seen it. And so this man lives in Owatonna, Minnesota, and goes by the college all the time. And this is how a Christian had an influence on an individual who was really not looking for spiritual things, but God stopped him in his tracks. Downtown, and I quote Mr. Al Smith, downtown Minneapolis, and he was in Minneapolis, is a wonderful, lively place to be during the summer, because many of those who work there take advantage of the weather by taking casual noonday strolls. Now, I think I have been to Minneapolis. I'm not sure. I was in the Navy for some years, and I think I was pulled liberty there one time. After scores of years since I worked downtown, a situation which changed my life while enjoying my walk took place. The day was as pleasant and perfect as could be. It was sunny and not too warm, with a gentle breeze swirling around throughout the moderately crowded streets of noontime walkers. As I casually walked along, absorbing the beauty of the day, my thoughts were suddenly interrupted by the vision that came into my field of view. There on that warm, sunny day in downtown Minneapolis, walking towards me all alone, was perhaps what I would describe as the most beautiful woman I had ever laid eyes on. She was a 10 on a score of 1 to 10. She was gorgeous. She was about 5'9", and her summer outfit enhanced her more than perfect body. Her brunette hair whisked from the slight breeze, and her makeup was natural on her startling, lovely face. She walked with a casual but confident stride. She was a paragon. It was difficult to not stare at her as I walked towards her. With each step I took, I was in awe of her profound beauty. As she strolled past me, nearly touching my arm, the faint scent of her gently intoxicating perfume seemed to capture all of my senses. I thought how perfect it was. I was mesmerized by the experience of witnessing such unbridled beauty. I stopped right there on that downtown street in Minneapolis and reflected for a moment on what I had just experienced. And let me insert in here, God got his attention, and he changed directions because of this person, because of God. It was an awareness of not only eye candy and the impact that she had on me, but it was the fragrance that she left behind. I remember it precisely, and this was 2018. When I contacted him, I said, "Do you still smell that perfume?" And he said, "To this day. I still smell that perfume. I still vividly remember the occasion and what God did." I pondered the entire experience and likened it to my life. The awareness I had was this: what do I leave behind? That's a question I have to answer. And beloved, that's a question that you have to answer, because there's a lot of gray hairs in here. Pastor, you're going to have a lot of dead people here soon. And we have to realize, we have to say, what am I leaving behind besides debts? See? What is it that people remember me by? What impression do I leave with others from the way I conduct my life? The things that make an impression on others are the things I do, the things I say, my attitudes, the words I use, my behaviors and my conduct, my character. And the same is true for every one of us. The philosopher and theologian Emmett Fox, the author of the Sermon on the Mount, stated, "Remember that those with whom you associate closely with have your personal conduct under constant inspection." Nice thoughts to carry with you as we all leave the impression behind us always. While playing poker one day with the usual bunch of old guys, I paused momentarily before dealing the cards and asked if they knew a man that I had just met a day earlier. I mentioned that I had an uncomfortable feeling about him, and then I said his name. I was shocked by their response in unison, all 6 men in loud emotional voices and out-shouting each other began to recite derogatory remarks about the man. They said he was a crooked, a thief, a no-good-for-nothing, a cheater, and the list grew longer. They angrily took me stories of how he swindled and took advantage of people of moderate incomes. The chastisement went on for several minutes with story after story about his shady dealings. I said to myself, look at what that man has left behind. That is how he is known. He trashed his own reputation. How sad. He has a mental cemetery. In the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon, pastor, wrote that book for your son. He's talking to the youth of the nation. All the vanity under the sun. But your son is being raised above the sun. Talking about the son. But Solomon realized that if you're going to serve the Lord the best, you've got to start when they're young. And your son is doing well. I don't teach in the school, that's why he's doing well. And so, but on the other side of the coin, I read a story about a lovely young lady named Chantel Sikora that has overcome her bout with cancer and stated that it was her nurses that left an imprint on her heart for the journey to recovery and said they were her rocks and her support. And that's what I want to be. And that's what Vera is. And we both want to be rocks and supports to our people, to our children, and to their children. I have 13 grandchildren, 22 great-grandchildren, and I think 2 great-great-grandchildren. And I'm only 39. Unbelievable. So, how about that for a life-giving impression? The nurses left an incredible positive influence on her life. It was life-giving. We are all extremely complex individuals, and I firmly believe that the majority of us carry the traits of our youth. What I was taught in my youth, I still have some problems with. My mom and dad were tremendous people, but they weren't perfect. And I was raised on 3 farms in Nebraska, and these were dairy farms and crops, and the dirty stories and some of the drinking and some of the innuendos. I'm telling you, a child of 3 and 4 years old is raised on that and comes up, that stays in you, and you're fighting that all the time. And so, but it took place in our youth. And so that's why our young people need to be trained up in the way that they ought to go. And so he continues on. We are extremely complex individuals. Some are positive and some aren't. The sad part about the negative influence is that many people seldom or if ever recognize it, and as a result, it rules their life. I know a man in his mid-80s, and he is about the most pugnacious individual that I have ever met. I stay away from him. Others say the same thing. I think it's dangerous to be around him. He's like an angry pit bull. You don't want to be around a person like that. And if you're that way, shame on you. There's always a bigger pit bull. That's right. I know an elderly man that has a pleasant and charming and calming demeanor to his personality. He's cordial and friendly and seems to have a smile on his face always. He is fun to be around. People remark he is one of the nicest guys in the world, and he has lots of friends, quite a contrast to the other guy. So then there is a question on the table. How do you build a positive, life-giving character? Be careful of what you leave behind. Be careful. So I don't think there is an easy answer to that, but I do believe there are some basic fundamentals anyone can follow, and here's a fool and I'll be done. Be careful how you talk. I have seen lovely people, are just lovely people until they open their mouth. I said, I can't believe what's coming out of those vocal cords. They don't fit the picture, but there it is. There it is. Be careful how you talk. Don't swear. Don't use filthy language. Don't use put-downs, condescending or sarcastic remarks. No insults and no shots. Don't make others the brunt of your jokes. If it is not life-giving, don't say it. Be careful of what you read. Garbage in, garbage out. What's your attitude like? What's your altitude like? Is it positive or is it negative? I'm a negative. You ask my wife. She's the positive, I'm the negative. And usually I'm right. Well, I tell myself I am. What is your thinking like? Whatever you set your mind to and focus on, you will attract to yourself. Do what you say you're going to do, or don't say it. I made a call the other day, Vera, about our molding that we want to put in that archway. We're missing one, and I used to do that. I don't do it anymore. I don't have any tools anymore. So I called the guy that does the work in there, and he said, of course, I got his voicemail, I will answer your call, I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. That was a week ago. He's a liar. He's not going to keep his word. Do what you say you're going to. Return calls. As an evangelist, I stopped calling. Just leave a message, we'll call you right back. Well, that was a year ago. And I was guilty of that myself because I was a pastor. It just escapes us. It just escapes us. Return email. Check your emails and return your emails. Use words like please and thank you. Speak kindly of others. Always find the nicest things to say. Be ye kind one to another. By coda. Be ye kind one to another. Ask instead of tell. Compliment others. It's like saying sick 'em to a dog. Do the right thing. It's never right to do wrong to do right, so do what's right to do, right? Listen attentively to others. I think that's one thing that God has helped me with. I try to really listen and analyze what I'm hearing. And my wife will say, "Did you hear me?" I said, "I'm still analyzing." Well, of course, I'm half deaf, but you know. But I don't answer because I'm still analyzing. And listen attentively to others. Forgive. Forgive. Just be nice. And here's a saying that I use as a measuring stick in life. What you speak, what you are speaks loudly. I cannot hear what you're saying. One thing more, and this should have been first. Don't forget to pray and ask God to help you. And so I close with that. If you're not sure that you're a Christian tonight, then that is where we must start. I would never assume that everyone in here is born again Christian. Probably most of you are, but some of you may not be. What must I do to be saved? Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. If you have made some mistakes in the past, and they've haunted you, and they will, this is an opportunity to set them right. Confess them to God and ask Him for forgiveness first, and then the one that you may have hurt. Beg them for forgiveness. If you just want to pray, this is what this altar's for. Just come down and pray, and if you will, others will come. Pastor will be here to help you if you need him, and there are others who can be. So, Pastor, if you come and lead this in. But now I want to say something else after the invitation. After Pastor's through, I have one more thing I want to bring to you. But right now, the important part is what Pastor's going to say.
Let's pray. Lord, we love you, Lord, and we've been challenged. What will we leave behind? We enter into eternity when our obituary is written, when our funeral takes place, and friends and loved ones remember your name in the years following your death. What will they say about you? Do they know your faith? Will your faith be preeminent? Will they talk about your love, your kindness, your faithfulness? What do you leave close here tonight and say, Pastor, I'm not settled on my eternity tonight. I'm not sure I'm going to heaven. I need to be sure, though. Would you pray for me? Anyone would slip up a hand and say, Pastor, pray for me. I'm not 100% settled on my eternity right now. I need to get it settled. The message has been preached. Christian, what are you leaving behind? Piano plays, let's stand together.